Debt isn't something to be afraid of. It's actually something to be celebrated as you move from one realm to the next. I am Pratna, and you're listening to Rebel with a Purpose. I know I've come out with an episode after really long, but I promise to be more consistent in the months coming forward because I promise to act on the impulses and the creative downloads I get no matter what time it is. It's literally 1 a.m. and I'm recording an episode on debt. And what inspired this was obviously the movie Michael. I watched a movie around 10 days ago and it still has not left me. The emotions I'm feeling, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, like I'm grieving MJ's death all over again. And yes, I was an MJ fan, but I feel like I've become so much more of a fan after researching about him and seeing multiple interviews of him. And this made me really think about the concept of death because I also started seeing videos of healers who connected with his soul, spoke to his soul, and what his soul really communicated was that he was meant to die the way he did and at the time he did. And he had accepted that because his body was already decaying because of the drug abuse that he had been through. So I was thinking to myself all about the concept of death, and I want to share in this episode the way that I see debt and how that has shifted over my years of living life and the debts that I have faced in my immediate family. And I'm going to very vulnerably share my journey because this is truly my episode. And if I can't be vulnerable here, then where else would I be vulnerable? So I'm going to give it to you all at once. I'm going to give myself the permission to be seen in this vulnerability by you, my listener. And I hope this resonates. And not just that, I hope it adds value and I hope it shifts the way you see debt and shifts your perspective on not just debt, but also grieving friendships, grieving a breakup, grieving old versions and identities of yourself. We're going to go deeper into that in this episode. So let's start with the first time that I was introduced to the concept of debt. And it was, I don't remember how old I was, maybe 6. And I remember my uncle had a fall and he fell from the fourth floor of a building and he like fractured his neck and it was like a very life-threatening fall. And I remember everyone being very worried. We rushed to the hospital to see him, and that night my parents were discussing death. And I think that was the first time I realized that I'm going to die too, that I'm not immortal, I'm not going to always be here, and nor are my parents. They're going to die, they're going to leave me one day, and possibly sooner than I leave them. And when I realized that, it hit me like a freaking truck. Like, it just hit me that I'm gonna lose my parents, and I don't want to live in a world where my parents don't exist, and I can't survive without them. And I was crying and crying and crying, and I remember my dad just consoling me, and I was like, I can't live in a world where you're gonna die. I can't live there. I don't want to live. I don't want to live without you. And I don't want to die. I don't want to let go of this life. I want to hold on so tightly. I don't want to die. And I was just like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to, it must be painful to die. It must be scary. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave this earth. I was so scared. I still remember that fear. I can feel it in my body even as I talk about it right now. And I'm not sure if you remember the first time you were introduced to death, but let this be a sign for you to think back to how you first were introduced to death, because I think that also defines a lot in the way we see death. And for me, it just sounded scary and painful, and like I don't want to do this crazy thing and leave this planet. Like I don't, I'm immortal. I'm meant to live forever. And I remember being really stressed, and I remember sleeping with my parents for nights after that. But growing up, I think at the age of 15, I started reading a lot of spiritual books. And to be very honest with you, I struggled to read Harry Potter, even Percy Jackson. But the first book I read was Life After Death. And it was this book by Dada Vaswani, who was my spiritual guru in my community. And I remember his books were so easy to read, which is why as a 15-year-old child, I could really grasp the concepts of debt. And he spoke about debt as something to be celebrated because you're moving from one room to another room. It's just that simple. You're moving from one realm to another realm, and it shows your evolution, the evolution of the soul's journey. It's something to be celebrated, not something to be mourned or grieved. And when I read that, everything shifted for me. The way I saw death, the scary thing that it was, it stopped being that. But it further shifted when I lost my granddad. He was, oh my God, so close to me, such a guiding force and light in my life. And when I lost him to cancer, it was 1 month of immediate decay. I remember I used to study with him, and I could slowly, slowly see that he was getting tired and he was getting exhausted. And I don't want to go into the depths of this because it is emotional, and I don't want to, I don't want you to have to feel the pain that I feel. But it was emotional, and I remember seeing him deteriorate every single day, and I just knew in my body that he's gonna die soon. And I remember when he died, he knew he was gonna die. Like, your body just knows. He knew the day before, and not even the day, I think a couple of days before, he told my mom the exact date that he was gonna die, and that's the day he died. And because he also told my mom beforehand, we called the entire family down to fly to Bangalore to be there on this date. And it's literally what happened. He literally passed away with family all around him from everywhere in India, because he communicated to us that that was the day he was going to die. And what he also said kind of shocked me. Wow, I can't believe I haven't spoken about this, but he said that he saw his higher self. He felt his higher self, and his higher self had communicated this date with him, which freaked everyone out when he said that, because at this point of time we don't believe in this woo woo shit, like a lot of people didn't, like a lot of people in my family, including my parents, were like, we do kind of believe in miracles and we do believe in religion, but when he spoke about his higher self, it was like, is this hallucination because of the medication and the drugs that my granddad was on? Was it a hallucination that he saw his higher self, or was it truth? But it was truth, because it's literally what he said came true, right? So that still gives me the chills till date. And after I lost my granddad, I think in a year I lost my dog. My dog meant the world to me. I don't have siblings, I'm the only child, so having a dog that I grew up with, Scotch, he was my brother. I literally used to tie a Rakhi to him. And if you're not Indian, we had this thing called Raksha Bandhan. I mean, we have this thing called Raksha Bandhan, which is, you tie Rakhis to your cousin, to your siblings or your cousins, um to tell them that you're going to protect them and keep them safe, and vice versa. And so I used to do that with my dog, Scotch. He was like my brother. I treated him like one. And so when I lost him, it was devastating. And to lose an animal is, I mean, if you're a pet owner, you know what I'm talking about. It is so devastating because they give you unconditional love. And then I lost my dog. And then 4 months after I lost my dog, I lost my dad to a very tragic, immediate bike accident, which just seemed like the most cruel thing God could do to me. I was so angry. I was in denial for months. I did not process it at all. I was in denial, and then I was super angry for months. And to this date, I still feel some anger toward everything. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to go. It's part of my grieving process, and I don't think grief leaves your body. I think it's something you always hold in your body till the day you die. And I don't think I'll ever stop grieving my dad, at least. So going back to having all these deaths in my life, it really served me to start looking at death as something that was an soul's evolution, right? Like, I know my dad is happy. I know he's at peace right now, and I know he's not in pain, and he's at peace, and he's living beautifully wherever he is. And so for my granddad and my dog, I do believe that it is an evolution of the soul, and we do move on to our next life. I believe in reincarnation very much so. I believe in Buddhism a lot, and Hinduism, of course. So another thing I also believe in is that our soul chooses certain things in our lifetime. It chooses the day we're born, it chooses the day we die, and it also chooses how we die, or the major illnesses that we go through. Another very personal thing I want to share in my immediate family is that my grandmom is still alive, and she lost her husband and then she lost her son in literally 1 year, right? In a 1 year span. So she had, like, she has Alzheimer's, she has dementia, and she's been dealing with that for years now. She doesn't remember who I am, she doesn't know who I am. and she doesn't know anything that's happening around her. And it's the saddest thing to see, to be in a household with. It's really difficult to see this every day, but it's also so sad. And I feel really, really bad. I wish she didn't have to go through this. And this has actually made my biggest fear in life not death. I'm not scared of death anymore. I'm not scared of death at all, actually, because I know when I die, I'm going to meet my dad, I'm going to meet my granddad, I'm going to meet the souls of my ancestors, the people who really cared for me and guided me, and I'm going to be happy to be reunited with them. So I'm not really scared of death. I'm scared of old age. I'm scared of gradual death and decay because I've seen my grandmom go through it, and she has Alzheimer's. And a lot of healers have actually told me that she chose to have Alzheimer's because she didn't want to see, like she didn't want to bear to see her husband and her dad and her son die, one after the other. She couldn't bear to see that, and so she chose to have Alzheimer's. Now, I don't know if I fully believe this, but I do think it makes some kind of sense that the major illnesses in our life and the date we are born, our parents, and when we die and how we die are predestined by our soul. Our soul chooses our parents, chooses the family, chooses the privilege, chooses the circumstances, and also chooses the death and how we die. And which is why this has actually made the whole Michael Jackson um debt much easier to process for me when I know that he chose this, and even his soul has communicated that to healers, as I've seen on YouTube. But now let's talk about not just debt of the body, but also debt in the everyday life and how we deal with debt in the everyday life, right? So it could be losing a friendship, losing a boyfriend, a partner, breaking up, right? It is one of the hardest things ever to lose a partner. And actually, just even when I left Bali, when I left my cat, oh my God, like it was so much worse than any breakup I've ever had. I felt the pain in my entire body because I didn't want to leave my cat. I didn't know who was going to take care of him. I didn't know what was going to happen. I did not want to leave my cat at all. And it was just a deeper soul connection that I can't explain, but I knew I wasn't meant to leave my cat. And unfortunately, I couldn't bring him back to India, but my mission is still to go back and get him back to India. But that was debt in the real sense. I was grieving for weeks. Like the last week, I mean, the last 10 days, I was just grieving and crying because I was like, who's going to take care of him? What am I going to do? How am I going to live without him? It was real grief, honestly. And not just that, even with breakups, it feels like I'm not just grieving the person and leaving them, but I'm grieving the version of me that I used to be when I was around them, right? I'm grieving that version of me. I'm grieving that connection. I'm grieving that bond. I'm grieving those memories that's not never going to happen again. And it just it's just so difficult to deal with this. It's so difficult to deal with grief. I genuinely find it so hard. But the most beautiful form of grieving, I believe, is grieving your old identity, grieving that old version of you. And that also happens through a breakup, that also happens through difficulties, through challenges in life. When you leave something, you have to grieve it in order to have a breakthrough in life, in order to enter a new realm in your life, in order to enter a new identity, to step into this quantum leap field, right? Every breakdown that you go through is followed by a breakthrough. And I truly believe that when I look back at my life and I draw it out on a piece of paper, like my highs and lows, I can very clearly point out that every low was followed by a very high. And the intensity varies, but yeah, generally is like the lower the lows, the higher the highs. And I have seen how this has happened in my life, and honestly, the past 4 months have been difficult. Like 2025 was all about the year of shedding, the year of debt, the year of like letting go of versions of our identity and just people, like the snake is so powerful. And so it was difficult for a lot of us. A lot of our businesses also shifted a lot. I noticed from so many business coaches and leaders have spoken about how their business didn't do well in 2025 because they had to look at the things that were not working. And a lot of times that was the way they were operating in their business and shift that. And 2026 is now like we're being reborn this year. And it's taking time, not gonna lie. It's May already. We're in mid-May, and I'm like, oh my God, it's been 4.5 months. Like, how the hell did the time fly that way? Because we're in May mid, and I'm just like, Wow, what is what is going on in my life? Because things are still figuring itself out, but it's very, very beautifully unfolding, very gradually, but very beautifully unfolding. And I'm really trusting this process. And I can tell you for sure my identity has shifted. And it did take me the 4 months, even in this year, 2026, to integrate everything that happened in 2025. So a little more context is I had huge void in my chest in 2025. It was a scarcity. It was like, why is it taking so long to work? Why it's not working? What is wrong with me? Am I the problem? I don't have enough money. Mm, how am I gonna, do the things I want to do? It was just like a lot of fear and scarcity mindset, and nothing really shifted. Let me be honest. My business did not bloom or blossom or give me more money. Nothing shifted. But my mindset shifted. I started accepting the privilege I already had, and you know what? I started seeing miracles around me. I started seeing the abundance around me. I got to stay for free in Bali for a couple of months. I got outfits, beautiful outfits, by the way, gifted to me by a stranger I met. Like, she literally met me, and the next day she's gifting me outfits. I'm just like, wow, like, and new Zara outfits. I'm just like, wow, this abundance just keeps flowing. I got $1 million course, literally like things that people pay thousands of dollars for, in my email box for free by mistake, accidentally, which I don't have anymore. But I had that for a very, very long time, and I made the best use out of it after a month of feeling extremely guilty about it. But I started accepting the abundance and started treating things like a gift from God as a blessing. And I started seeing the abundance in my everyday life. I started noticing it. It was like this reticular activating system of mine had been activated to only notice abundance and blessings in disguise in my life. And things got so much better, I tell you, because I started moving from like a place of lack and this void in my chest to then feeling whole from within, feeling successful already. And I remember someone in Bali asked me, when will you know that you've made it in life? And I said, I've already made it. And that itself was like, wow, I'm a different person. The person I am today is so different than the version I was in December 2025. Like, what happened? What changed? How did this change happen? I don't know. It was like an integration of everything that happened in 2025. 2025 was nerve wracking. And I felt like I integrated all the lessons I learned in these 4 months, and I've become this new identity, this new version. Yes, externally, things are still very much the same with my business. I am calling in 4 beautiful soul-led clients into my world this month. I think my energy is so off the off the roof right now. Anyone coming into my energy field will have transformations immediately. People are already having transformations in my free workshops and masterclasses. And so I can't wait to invite people into like this deeper transformation with me this month. And I am pretty confident that people will see the value, because I fully see the value and I fully have integrated my offer, and I'm working on it so deeply and so beautifully this time. I don't think I've ever intentionally sat down and worked this deeply with my offer. And I'm also working with a coach and not doing it alone this time, which makes all the difference. And I'm so, so excited to actually welcome more souls into my world. So that's very exciting. But it couldn't have been possible. Like, me feeling this way, me talking the way I'm talking right now in this episode wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have the deaths that I had to go through, if I didn't have to let go of this identity and shed. And to be honest, I've had mental breakdowns, I've had panic attacks, I've cried, I've grieved this old identity, I've grieved people leaving. I had a breakup recently. I had to grieve that. I left my cat. I grieved that. Oh my God, let's talk about friendships. The amount of friendships that I've let go of this year itself. And even last year, I let go of a few friendships. It's so difficult to let go of a friendship. To have a friendship breakup is so, so hard. And I had to let go of some people who I just felt, even if it wasn't letting go, it was just knowing in my head that they are not people I can fully trust and rely on. So I had to just let go of the expectations and of what I believed about this friendship in my head. So I was grieving a version of the friendship, right? And so grief can come in so many different ways in your life, but I do think grief is also beautiful. I think it's extremely painful and heartbreaking, but I also think what comes after grief and the person you become needs to be celebrated and loved and cared for so deeply, and by you. Don't wait for the world to see your power. Don't wait for the world to see your strength, to see this new version of you, to see this new identity of you. See it for yourself first and give yourself the love. And honestly, hug yourself. Like, I love hugging myself because I love physical touch. It's my love language. And give yourself that physical touch. Hug yourself, rock yourself like a little baby. You deserve to be seen first by yourself, to be loved first by yourself. So honestly, that's all I want to share with you today. um I loved this episode. I loved how it flowed so beautifully, so easily. And this is just a sign to keep working on my impulses, to take that as a sign to make an episode immediately, no matter what time it is, to just give and pour from my value and from my heart and from my passion. Because when you truly love what you do and you're obsessed with your work, you can pour into it no matter the time, no matter the energy level, because of your passion, because of your devotion. Just like MJ did. He practiced till 3 a.m. every night because he loved his work. Not because he had to prove the world, not because he was scared of failing. He always knew he was the greatest of all time. He just was obsessed with art, with music, and he knew his calling so deep in his heart. And so I want to invite you that if you feel a deep calling, you know that you're made for more, you know your potential, but you also are looking for guidance, sisterhood, community to be able to reach that potential much faster and in a lot more fun, to create a life where you're obsessed with your business, you're obsessed with your offers, you're super clear in your calling, and you turn that calling into a beautiful brand that is powerfully yours, then this is your community, this is your space. I not only help you with developing a deeper relationship with God, your future self, and with your brand and business, but I also help you articulate that beautifully so that you come across as a category of one, a one of a kind brand, rather than another coach in the industry trying to make it, or another artist who just sounds like someone else on the internet, right? So this is really a mastermind to help you differentiate yourself, to help you realize your power, your magic, and increase and 10x your confidence and impact so that your people can get the fullest version of you, not the half-hearted version of you. And I'd love to welcome you in. If this calls out to you, just DM me legacy to book a call with me. And on this call, it's a free, no pressure call where we just talk about your legacy vision. We dial down what your future self looks like, what your future vision looks like, and what blocks are coming in the way, and a very personalized roadmap to you to help you get there. So if you'd like to book this call, I've opened up just 10 slots for the month of May. Just DM me with the word legacy and we can get on this call. But thank you so much. Stay tuned for everything that I'm bringing to you. I'm bringing a lot of new things to my Instagram, to my offer suite. So I'd love to serve you in some way if this episode sparked any resonance in you. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening all the way through. If you liked it, please do subscribe and please rate this and share it with anyone who you think could benefit from this episode, or is going through a difficult time, or is grieving someone or something in their life. You're listening to Rebel with a Purpose, and I'm Pratna, signing off.